when were you last in the UK? And where were you?
Well, I was in London on Tuesday, actually.
Fantastic. I like to hear it.
Which was rather, I went there for, we have another business that sells olive oil as well. So I was there for a food fair at Olympia. But I did that quite quickly. I took the early morning flight, got in to Olympia, did that in like 4 hours, and then I went shopping like you do in London.
What did you buy?
2 pairs of shoes.
Fantastic.
And some
cheese
English
for
cheddar
me.
cheese. With a Harrods.
Because you can't get good cheddar in Sweden.
Right, okay.
So next time you go to England, just call me out.
I'm surprised
The
you're
cheese
eating it because you don't even, you think it's really naff to shop at Harrods. So.
I didn't. No, I didn't. I had a little bit of a corner of it. Told Thomas to butt out of my cheese, and then I shall save it.
So what about you, Simon? When were you last over in the UK?
No, I think last time I was in London must have been 2 or 3 years ago. But I mean, I'm usually there with Thomas maybe 4 or 5 times a year in the first class lounge with British Airways.
Sounds fun.
It's hell, but someone has to do it.
Or do you think Swedes have a passion for Britain? Would you say that?
I have to say, I'm English, I have one view of England, and Swedes have a very, very different view of London and England. They say the English are so extraordinarily polite and helpful and charming and delightful. I think that's really rather wonderful. You know, when you live in a metropolis of 12 million people, sometimes you don't actually see that. But it's nice to hear that we've made an impact. We have our ways of addressing each other. We talk about the weather because we like to strike up conversations with each other. We're a very friendly people, but at the same time we don't give everything like Americans on day one. We like a good wine, you have to open it, let it breathe, and then you put it in a glass and you smell it and you spit it out again and then you come back for another glass. That's the English.
Aren't the Swedes the same now?
No, the Swedes are positively gushing compared to the English.
Let's talk about interior design. British, Swedish tastes on interior design. What's the best and the worst of each?
I think the best with English design is, or the way people actually design their homes in England, is that they really work hard on being individuals. I mean, the only thing that is standard in England is plumbing.
Right.
Which actually, the Swedish system is based on English plumbing.
Yeah. Everything else is, the English make a point of having something, you know, they would never have a standard doorknob or anything standard. You know, kitchens are still sort of the under-counter fridge and all this. That I think is really, really unique with England. And as in Sweden, we are the other way around. Everything in Sweden is standard. Everyone knows how big a dishwasher is or how a counter should be, and every home is built around the same formula. All apartments in Stockholm are purpose-built as apartments. It's not converted houses or warehouses or something like that, which makes, I think, England much more interesting because there's such a wider variety of designs and design schemes and looks. And
I mean, I would say one of the good things also about English design is we are very happy to invest a great deal of our personality in the interior design scheme. We're not interested in looking like each other. We want to be separate and different. I mean, the adage, you know, an Englishman's home is his castle is absolutely right. I would say the worst thing about Swedish design is it's
white.
No, it's not even that. It's that we are here afraid of showing our personality in our home. I don't quite know where Swedes do it. Perhaps it's during the summer holiday when they're in their stew, they're out in a lake and they let go and they dress how they want to. But I think that's a shame because Swedes are full of personality and fun and life and interest. It just doesn't come across in their home. in England, I think what is so interesting is that there are lots of street markets on Saturday and Sunday. Places, for example, like Notting Hill Gate, hugely commercialized now. But if you keep walking and walking and walking, it gets more and more down market and old clothes and stuff. But that's where you can find really interesting stuff. I would suggest kind of slightly steer clear of those places. Go and look at them because they're full of life. Kind of Brick Lane and all of these sort of odd places out in Toxteth, and there are always little auction houses everywhere where you can really get a sense of English history. I mean, we started off by selling just English designers because Swedes thought English design revolved mostly around fitted carpets, Chesterfield sofas, and
Brit fern type of things, you know.
yeah, you know, sort of
the Gran, whatever it's called in English.
yew tree and that sort of Victorian stuff. But there's a whole world of design, much, much, much beyond that. And it was about being a showcase for English design.
Simon, give me, if you could describe Swedes in one sentence.
I would say...
Careful now.
I would say Swedes are slow in making friends. But when you have a Swede as a friend, you have an extraordinarily good friend.
Yeah. Do you know what I'm going to ask you now, Thomas? Describe Brits in one sentence.
One sentence, very socially competent. No, you know, most Brits can find themselves at a wedding or whatever and can actually always, like Simon said, strike a conversation or whatever. I find that actually a big difference from Swedes.
And last question, your dream holiday in Britain, where would you go and what would you do?
Possibly Highcliffe in northern Cornwall. I mean, that's why it's called Highcliffe. I mean, the cliffs are high.
That's good.
But my goodness, when the wind, in November, walking holiday with the 2 Jack Russells, wind roaring in off the Atlantic, it's cold, the huge waves crashing against the shore, it just sort of blasts your mind clean of all of that accumulated from the year.
I wouldn't mind going to see Blackpool just because to see what it's all about, because it pops up everywhere, you know, and it sounds absolutely ghastly, but I think it's like Las Vegas. Everyone, I think, has a relationship with it, whether they hate it or like it, but people keep going there for some reason or other.
Charm.
And
I don't know, it's charming.
That is absolutely the difference between Thomas and I. Blackpool, Highcliffe in North Cornwall.
But I wouldn't mind spending a whole week in London, just hooting about London. So because I was sitting there Tuesday having lunch, out in the street, and just the noise and the pollution and the cars and all the people. Just sit there for hours and hours and hours. I love it. Stockholm is way too quiet for me.
Thank you very much.